I kind of like the effect of that. You've got this very strange, weird, unexplained image just kind of floating in a big white sky. No time, no space, no explanation, no nothing. Except for the fact that really, it could only be a Wednesday. It could only be 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it could only be one guy holding this thing up in front of his camera lens in order to make sure that he is on the air before revealing himself. Yes, it has to be that little old webcaster me, Malcolm Tent, bringing you this week's episode of, you guessed it, Tent Talks Tunes. Waka waka. Good to be here, folks. Assuming, of course, that I am here. You know the drill. If you've seen this program more than once, you know that I've got my desktop computerized monitor in front of me. So I'm able to see whether I'm going out live or not. If you people are watching this as a rerun on YouTube, I know this is not as nearly exciting as it is watching it live, but it is what it is. It's the technology that we have. Summer reruns were never as much fun as watching the show the first time around in the spring, but it's the way it was done. So yep, looks like I'm going on live. Everything's great. And sure enough, we got Alan Versapellis, number one in the house as always. Hello, Alan. And we got Murray Gelman from Tucson, Arizona, who is got the rabbit ears on top of his monitor finally adjusted and turned in the right direction. He might have some tin foil on the ends of those rabbit ears to make sure that the signal's coming in loud and clear and that you are indeed receiving Tent Talks Tunes. Woo! Yeah, there's a lot going on here. In case y'all were wondering, I got my first piece of junk mail yesterday. I'm very, very happy about that. A lot of people don't like junk mail. I love junk mail because what that means is that my brand new P.O. Box, P.O. Box number 173, Newton, North Carolina, 28658, is officially open for business and receiving mail. Yes. Ignore any old previous references to this one. Never mind Newtown, Connecticut. This is Newton, North Carolina. P.O. Box 173, Newton, North Carolina, 28658. And to prove it, I got a piece of junk mail. And I did what I like to do with junk mail occasionally. I made a little collage out of the junk mail that I received. All you need is a pair of scissors, a glue stick, and a piece of paper, and a short little stack of junk mail. And you, too, can make sarcastic, I just ran out of metaphors. I have no more alliteration for you guys, but you, too, can make collage art and put that junk mail to good use. Erica Cucciare is in the house and says, love that shirt. Oh, yes. I was talking to Jeff Clayton the other day. Jeff Clayton of the almighty Anti-Scene. The unimpeachable president for life. We were talking about me being a guest on his show next month and talking about the glory days of bootleg tape trading. Cassettes, VHSs, later morphed into the days of CD trading. It's an art and a science which is almost completely gone by the wayside now because YouTube is just saturated with live concert recordings and rare unreleased studio recordings, the things that you used to have to really, really, really track down if you were a fan of a group. And the Hellhammer demo tapes were like on the top of everybody's list. Everybody wanted to hear the original Hellhammer demos from 1983. They were impossible to find. And took me years to get copies of them. They did eventually release them officially. But when I finally got those demos on a bootleg cassette that I traded with some guy for another bootleg cassette, that was a happy day, finally getting to wrap my ears around those Hellhammer demos. Really amazing stuff. The very first ever death metal band, and the stuff holds up to this very day. That's the kind of stuff that I would love to see in my box way back when. P.O. Box 173, Newton, Connecticut. I'm so used to the old spiel, I just tripped myself up. P.O. Box 173, Newton, North Carolina, 28658. So yeah, we're going to open up some mail. Speaking of the P.O. Box, and then we're going to check some events on the bulletin board. Got 2 pieces of mail this week. And I do know exactly what they are, but it's going to be fun to actually see these items for the first time live here on Tent Talks Tunes. Got one very carefully wrapped package from my good pal Mike Lesser, who is normally in Vancouver, British Columbia, but who was in the United States of America in South Carolina, taking care of some biz. And so he took advantage of the low postage rates on this side of the border. You know, shipping international is real expensive, so if you're in the States, do what they do in the States and go local. And he sent me this here package, and you can probably see by the size and the shape of it that really could only be one thing. But let's see exactly which one thing it is. I seem to have misplaced the 2-mile box cutter, so I'm going to use the 3-mile scissors and very carefully insert it into a divot in the package. This is live. This is unstaged. This is unplanned. This is unrehearsed. This is uncivilized. This is uncouth. This is rock and roll in a package. And you guys get to see along with me exactly what sort of rock and roll it is. This is just like them good old days I was talking about. Trading in the mail and getting exciting new sounds that you couldn't find elsewhere. We got it out of the package. The package is being discarded. The packing material is being carelessly flung aside because I don't care about packing material. What I do care about is this. Yes, Mike told me he was going to be sending me this, and he made good on his threat. This is not a one, wow, not one, but two disc copy of the Eat anthology, which came out on Alternative Tentacle Records. I don't know exactly how long ago, but finally, after years and years and years of being out of print, the Eat discography was reissued on Alternative Tentacles. And I mentioned to Mike that I didn't have it. Well, now I do. Mike, thank you so very, very much. Both Mike Lesser and the Eat totally tie in to tonight's topic on Tent Talks Tunes. This is relevant. It is timely. So just put that in your short-term memory bank because we're going to be getting back to the Eat and Mike Lesser momentarily. We got one more box here. This, another one of them boxes. You can tell by the size. You can tell by the shape. You probably know what's in it. This has got a return address from, you guessed it, Gary Forney of Iowa, TPOS recording artist Gary Forney. The arrival of this package also ties in with something I'll be talking about in a second. But first, let's bust out the scissors and very carefully open the package so as not to damage the contents or create massive hemorrhaging from yours truly. It's very bad form to bleed all over yourself on camera, so I try not to do it. Make a real effort not to do that. We open the box. This box was completely sealed. It has now been unsealed. We are unflapping the flaps and revealing the contents of the box, which could only be not one, not two, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things. And they are all so cool that I hardly have words for them. Yes, I did show some of these a few weeks ago on Tent Talks Tunes, but here's a brand new box full of them. The latest hand-lathed record by Gary Forney. Yes, and it's a beautiful package. This is cut by a guy in Tucson, Arizona. How's that for more tie-ins? We have many, many threads being tied together in this week's episode of Tent Talks Tunes. Tucson, Arizona, there is a lathe-cut label called People in a Position to Know. He's got his own label, and he does lathe cuts for other labels, and his work is really impressive. I mean, look at the print job on that. and the way it fits in with this beautiful square white hand-cut record. I mean, is that art or is that art? I think it qualifies as art. It's a brand new song from Gary Forney. Gary, you've heard me talk about him a lot here on Tent Talks Tunes. I am delighted to have him on my label, and I am delighted to have these brand new hand-lathed records in which Gary uses AI technology to bring his songwriting ideas to life. It's a cool concept. It's one that's got to be used. It is one that is being used, and it is here on vinyl. Gary, I got some stuff to send to you in return, as per request, including not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 copies of the brand new Pumpkin 8-track on TPOS. Yes, Pumpkin, Gary Forney's punk rock band with his son Josh and his lovely wife Bonnie. This is punk rock, blues like you've never heard it before. And here it is on 8-track, the fabled Lost Studio Session by Pumpkin on 8-track on TPOS. And this is the first finished copy. And I'm extremely happy about it. I'm supposed to send Gary 5 of them. I got 4 made. I'm working on the 5th even as we speak. There are episodes of Tent Talks Tunes archived on my YouTube channel, which if you haven't subscribed to yet, you need to subscribe to it, in which I talk about the pain, the agony, the misery, the blood, the toil, the tears, the sweat, what it takes to make an 8-track. It is a pain in the tuchus, my friends. It is a pain. But the end results are pretty cool. I get a kick of looking at my desk and seeing the short stack. Whoops. Ignore that, guys. The short stack of finished Pumpkin 8-tracks, of which I have 4 out of 5 I'm going to be sending to Gary. They just look so cool. And they sound great. I love the sound of 8-tracks. So if you guys are really into the mechanics and the process of what it takes to make an 8-track, by all means, check out my YouTube channel, scroll back through it, do a search, and you'll see the episode called, I think it's How to Run a DIY Label, or something along those lines. A lot of fun. Of course, we do cassettes as well. We got the Pumpkin cassette of the Lost Studio album. And this is already... Yes, it's already on the TPOS Bandcamp. It will soon be on the eBay and Discogs. I just updated Gary's Discogs profile. So you can look Gary Forney up on Discogs and you'll soon see Pumpkin 8-track and cassette. And I hope to get some of these listed soon. So dig it, guys. Lots of stuff happening here. That's the mail. Here's the bulletin board. Here's what's going on in the immediate future. You've heard talk about it. It's still true. The book is out. The My Misadventures with G.G. Allen by his friend, roadie, road manager, booking agent, merchandiser, photographer, videographer, Len Colby, the late Len Colby. One of the last things he did before he died was to finish the manuscript of his book and get it to me for publishing. And it's out. It's here now. If you order it on Amazon, there's a hardcover and a softcover. If you order it from me, you get the deluxe softcover that is numbered, and I can sign it if you want. There's a Kindle edition. This thing's all over the known universe. So if you want to bring literacy back to life, check it out. My Misadventures with G.G. Allen by Len Colby. Out now on TPOS. That's a bulletin board item. How about this? A concert. How would you like to go see a live musical concert featuring Clayton and Wenzel? The aforementioned Jeff Clayton, the big boss man of Anti-Scene, has a project with Steve Wenzel of many, many fine groups. He also owns and runs a psycho thrift shop called Kingdom Corner in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina. They've got a project in which they do good old-fashioned, no-nonsense, acoustic gospel music. And I am in the live aspect of Clayton Wenzel. You will see me strumming my acoustic guitar, stomping on that kick drum when needed, and just having a good old time playing some good old music. So that's going to be happening on July 19th. Yes, I got that right. July 19th at the Clearwater Arts Center in Concord, North Carolina. This will be the second ever show by Clayton and Wenzel. The first one was an awful lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. The people who came out enjoyed it. And maybe if you come out, you'll enjoy it. Here's another thing that's on the bulletin board, the Anti-Scene Time Machine. Yep, it's been pressed. Pre-orders are on sale right now. There are 3 different stunning colors of vinyl. And if you ever wondered what it sounded like to have Anti-Scene play a song by Sonny and Cher, or Anti-Scene to do Donna Summer, or Anti-Scene to do Frank Zappa, you could probably guess what Anti-Scene doing the Sex Pistols sounds like. But 3 out of 4 ain't bad. If you want to know what it's like to hear Anti-Scene do songs by those artists, well, the Anti-Scene Time Machine will answer all of your questions. Out soon. Don't miss it. Also, don't miss the Rule Breakers Ball 2025, September 19th and 20th. Ground Zero, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Our home away from home. 2 nights of exciting. And I'm going to use this word, okay? I'm sorry. I'm going to use it because this is 2025. The language changes. The language morphs. I don't necessarily approve of it, but new words are introduced into the lexicon, and they're going to be used. So I might as well just go ahead and say that this is 2 nights of bone-crunching, down and dirty rock and roll, curated by Anti-Scene. Every single band was handpicked by us to appear on this bill. Night number 1, Taped Fist, Future Hate, Knowledge is for Fools, Before I Hang, and the no doubt triumphant return of Rancid Vat. September 20th, Blue Ridge Death Cult, Wrath of Typhon, Self-Made Monsters, Josephus and the George Jonestown Massacre, and of course, the only band that could top a bill like that little old bunch of us, Anti-Scene. September 19th, September 20th. Alan Versapellis has a question saying, will Time Machine get a CD release? I'd say the odds are pretty good. Jeff ran a couple of ideas by me about how he wants to do that. I, of course, said, hell yeah, let's do it. Gee whiz, what are we waiting for? So, as usual, it's just a matter of making it happen, And luckily, I've gotten really good with the art of CD manufacture. I've got a company in Florida that I use who makes professionally made, professionally packaged, shrink-wrapped CDs. I can do the cover art and all that good stuff. I'm pretty proud of myself, actually, for mastering a new skill like that. That's not bad at all, man. So, yeah, CDs can be done. It's just a matter of getting them done. So, you know what my advice to you is, Alan, and anybody else who might want it on CD? Remind us. Just remind us. Remind anybody you know in Anti-Scene frequently, loud, insistent. Don't pull any punches. Just tell it like it is. Say, we want Time Machine on CD. So get with it. As I'm fond of saying, with enough reminders, we're capable of anything. And I think we've addressed everything here on this side of the bulletin board, except for the fact that my website has been updated for the first time in, I think, 3 years. You've seen Tent Talks Tunes before. You've met me in person. You know that, yeah, I will eventually master the technology, but it's usually a long, slow, painful curve until such mastery is achieved. And that's what happened when most internet service providers stopped allowing FTP uploads. They just don't do them. No FTP. They will not upload FTP via regular internet channels, which is a drag for a guy like me because my websites, both malcolmtent.net and trashamericanstyle.us, they're old-fashioned. I do them with FTP and HTML and all that. They've been working very well for the last 24 years just like that, and I see no need to change them. So I had to find a workaround to where I could upload my websites not using regular FTP uploading. Believe me, it doesn't make any sense to me either. I'm telling you, it really doesn't. So I found a way. Took 3 years, but I did it. So malcolmtent.net is now officially updated. And in fact, there's a brand new page on malcolmtent.net, which ties into Tent Talks Tunes Tonight, and as a page of oral history about my Florida band, Broken Talent. We existed from 1983 to 1986, and we had friends, we had fans, we had followers, we had former members, and a fair number of those reminiscences are now posted on malcolmtent.net. Go to the homepage. There's a link that says Broken Talent Stories. Check it out and read some stuff about what I thought was a pretty cool little slice of South Florida punk rock history. I'm very proud of myself for finally updating that. Why don't you guys give me some thumbs ups and some hearts and some smiley faces and some power fists and some muscle flexing emojis? Because, darn it, I'm good enough, I'm beautiful enough, and I deserve it. Yeah, I see some hearts. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Bob, my old compadre Bob Eaton from Brookfield, Connecticut, wants to know how Harry is doing. Well, Harry is sound asleep. He's over in the next room on the couch. His couch, not my couch, his couch. You know how that goes. He's sound asleep and kind of surprised he hasn't walked in here yet. He usually does. When he hears me going blah, 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 nonstop for a while, he knows that something is up. He knows that the camera's turned on and that he can get some attention by showing up. He just hasn't done it yet. We're just waiting is all. We're just waiting. It's bound to happen. Bound to happen. We'll see. All right, so that's it. That's the mail. That's the bulletin board. That's the infomercial. Let's talk tunes, guys. This whole episode of Tent Talks Tunes, and I'm going to make sure that I am indeed there. Yep. Was brought about because I started checking out a couple of webcasts, YouTube videos. There's a really cool YouTube channel called Florida Sound Archive. And hey, they had me on about 6 months ago, in which I did an entire 2 hours plus doing my own oral history about Broken Talent. And Jeff, the guy who runs the channel, he's covered all aspects of South Florida music history. He's interviewed jazz musicians, funk musicians, plenty of punk rock musicians, heavy metal musicians, like any type of player in South Florida who had a career, he's interviewed. I of course, am drawn to the punk rock stories and the tales of the South Florida underground music scene that I grew up in. And he did 2 episodes recently, one featuring my pal Mike Lesser, who sent me those Eat CDs you saw a little while ago. Mike talking about the gay Cowboys In Bondage, who to me were a seminal South Florida punk / hardcore band. Very inspiring to me. He also did one with my old pals George Kelly and Mark Feehan of the Trash Monkeys and the Stun Guns. The Trash Monkeys were a direct offshoot of Broken Talent, and the Stun Guns, from what I understand, were a direct offshoot of the Trash Monkeys. I haven't watched the episode in full yet. I'm only about halfway through it. But just seeing my old friends on this guy's YouTube channel really kind of whetted my appetite to talk about South Florida punk and South Florida hardcore in the early 80s. This is where I grew up. This is where I cut my teeth. This is where I learned everything, how to be in a band, how to release stuff on a label, how to tour. All those good skills were learned in South Florida. And I had plenty of musicians and bands and people in the scene who I totally looked up to and who were inspiring to me. Alan Versapellis says that he loves the Gay Cowboys In Bondage. They were great. Superb band. So I guess we'll talk about Gay Cowboys In Bondage right now. I went through my personal record collection and dug out some vinyl that I would like to talk to you about. Unlike Tent Talks tunes from the past 2 weeks, in which I actively sold records, these are not for sale. These belong to me. They are mine. Gay Cowboys In Bondage. Yeah, this is really critical stuff. I first heard about the Gay Cowboys In Bondage when my old pal Jill, who may or may not be watching tonight, hey Jill if you are, she and a bunch of her friends went to some warehouse party somewhere in Fort Lauderdale to see some bands. For reasons I do not remember, I didn't go. I was usually really gung-ho to go see bands, you know, but for some reason I didn't go that night. But the next day she was telling me, you got to see this band called the Gay Cowboys In Bondage. They would be right up your alley. Their lead singer is hyperactive, so is the bass player, and they're great. There's a great band. You got to see Gay Cowboys In Bondage. So, of course, immediately put that in the trap and did eventually get to see Gay Cowboys In Bondage. I think the first time I ever saw them was when Broken Talent shared the bill with them. There was a big day-long punk hardcore festival called the Tropical Depression Show, named after Tropical Depression zine, which was run by this woman, Tony Latino. She had this great zine called Tropical Depression. So she had a day-long punk fest at the Fireman's Hall in Fort Lauderdale. And we played, Gay Cowboys played, The Drills, Generic Death. I think Sector 4 was on top. I mean, just the creme de la creme of South Florida punk bands and us. So I got to see them. They blew me away from that moment on. Anytime I knew they were playing, I went to go see them. Saw them open up for the Minutemen. Saw them, I'm trying to think of the other times I saw them. It tends to blur after a while, but they were always great. They were one of the 2 bands that I wanted Broken Talent to be. And the thing I say about Broken Talent a lot is that we knew what we wanted to do, we just didn't know how to do it. Our reach exceeded our grasp. But the Gay Cowboys In Bondage were one of those bands who had the reach and the grasp. What they had that I wanted Broken Talent to have was the musicianship and the velocity. Like, these guys could play really fast and they could play really well. That's what I wanted for Broken Talent to achieve. And, we brushed up against it sometimes, but never to the same level of the Gay Cowboys In Bondage. And one thing about the Gay Cowboys, it's really cool and genuinely subversive in a lot of ways, is that on the face of it, they're a very silly band. And they played up the silly card quite a bit when they were a band. You know, their record, Oh and Marshmallow Strikes Again, their seminal cassette demo called We're Not Gay, But the Music Is. You know, songs like X-Rated Go-Go Lunch. What else is on here? Funny Red Mustache of Kool-Aid. A song title called Big Fat Bologna Sandwich. Fire Island Luau. You know, it's kind of easy to just sort of view them as like a funny core band. Just a silly band. But they actually wrote about some really deep and heavy stuff. Some real serious topics. And they had that great ability to kind of, I don't want to say sugarcoat it because that gives the wrong connotation, but to sweeten the delivery a little bit. To sort of put a soft jacket on the bullet, if you will. They were able to get the message across without beating your head with it. And they just had a great sense of humor, great stagecraft, presence, songwriting, all of that. And I said it many times before, and I'll say it again. Before I say it again, I'm going to answer a question from Edward Braswell, a.k.a. Bruiser Braswell, a.k.a. Mondo, a.k.a. the lead singer of Taped Fist, who are getting back together for an exclusive performance at Rule Breakers Ball. And if you think that Mondo looks hot behind the Anti-Scene merch table, just wait till you see him on stage. Just wait. September 19th. Find out for yourself. And you better bring a pair of shades, baby, because you're going to need them. Woo! A lot of brilliance coming off of that stage. Woo! Let me tell you. How are the Minutemen live? Incredible. Duh. Doubly incredible because I had never heard the Minutemen prior to seeing them. I had this idea that they were going to be, LA hardcore band. And I loved, still do, I love that early 80s hardcore. I love it, love it, love it. Get down, get out, do it fast, brutal, raw. I mean, what's not to love about early 80s hardcore? So that's what I thought the Minutemen were going to be all about. And I was quite surprised when they took the stage and started doing their jam shtick for Econo. Or is it Econo shtick for jamming? Or was that, you know what I mean? Their own language for describing what they did. Fantastic. One of my cherished souvenirs to this day is I have an original Minutemen set list from that gig. It's 3 handwritten pages long. Just song after song after song after song. D. Boone's footprints are all over it from him jumping around the stage. And a friend of mine really wanted to hear them do this song called Split Red off of one of their early EPs, but it wasn't on the set list. So he whipped out a magic marker and wrote Split Red on the set list. And the Minutemen played it. How cool is that? Is that customer service or what? So the Minutemen were fantastic. They were just brilliant. And the Gay Cowboys opening for them was, I mean, you're talking about a double feature, man. A double header, a double feature. Two great tastes that taste great together. So anyway, the Gay Cowboys were also the first band I ever saw that put out a cassette release. A cassette-only album. That was a mind blower and a game changer. Because I kind of knew of the term DIY, but that was probably the first time I ever saw DIY put into practice. The fact that you could go to Zayre's department store, buy a bag of $3 for $4 cassettes, put your band's music on the cassette, photocopy some inserts, and take them to the local record store. And just like that, you had a release. And people would take it seriously, and they would buy it. And they would want to know more about it, and they'd want to hear more of your music. It was the most amazing, eye-opening thing ever to know that it was that simple and that acceptable to use that method to get your music out without having to pay the very expensive cost of pressing a record. That is the foundation that TPOS has been built on since 1984. That DIY aesthetic. Cassettes. To this day, that's how I make them. I make them at home. I've got a stack of cassette recorders over to my left. I load them up with blank tapes, press the play button, press the record buttons. They all record. I put labels on them. You used to have to go to a print shop to photocopy the labels, but now I print them at home on my laser printer. And it's a release. It's a genuine, honest-to-gosh release. Put it on the merch table. Someone's going to buy it. Discogs, eBay, and Bandcamp. The people love it. It's that easy. It was that easy then, and it's that easy now. So the Gay Cowboys, in a lot of ways, really were the total package for me. They had the chops, they had the velocity, they had the DIY aesthetic, and you better believe my mealy little brain was taking notes furiously. So big salute to Mike Lesser and all the Gay Cowboys in Bondage for being a real beacon in the extremely dark cultural night of South Florida. South Florida is, and definitely was, grim. That's why bands like the Gay Cowboys In Bondage, and my number 2 big inspiration, morbid opera. Morbid opera had the other ingredients that I really wanted for Broken Talent, whereas Gay Cowboys In Bondage had the musicianship and the speed. Morbid opera had sludge and attitude. Great songs too. Let's not downplay the songs, but just the way these people presented themselves on stage and the sheer grinding, distorted, to use the word again, sludge, with so much snot and who gives a fuck attitude, but they had the music to back it up. They were wonderful. And like the Gay Cowboys, they were all like a year or two older than I was, which at the time was still pretty significant, you know. I was class of 82. Anybody class of 81 or even older, I mean, that was old, you know. These people were like a year or two older than me. Ay, ay, ay. So these older people who just did this devil-may-care brand of pure sludge. I mean, Libby, their guitar player, their bass player, and I've since learned principal songwriter, she was the first bass player I ever saw live who used distortion on her bass. That was an eye-opener and an ear-opener, hearing the tone she got out of her bass. That was another beacon that I decided to follow and have been following ever since. Uh-oh. I think you guys can see in the lower corner of your video screen that somebody is about to hog the camera. I predicted this. I knew this was going to happen. Bob Eaton, you wanted to know how Harry was doing? Let's find out. Come on up here, sonny boy. There's my guy. The one and only Harry the Cat, making his traditional, almost obligatory appearance on Tent Talks Tunes. Everybody say hi to the one-eared wonder. The guy with 1.5 fangs. The guy who loves getting his chin rubbed live on worldwide web streaming platforms. The dude who takes all the attention away from me. Yeah. Look at that shower of hearts that come on screen when Harry makes his appearance. Not even I get that many hearts when I ask for them. He doesn't even have to ask for them. He does not have to ask for the shower of hearts. He gets them no matter what. And here he is, guys. Looks like he's doing pretty well, don't you think? Oh, that's my boy. This would, of course, be my cue to let you know that the Harry the Cat CD is in production. After several years of having it in the planning stages and the editing and the designing, it is actually at the manufacturer, even as we speak. So if all goes well, the Harry the Cat CD will be in my grubby little mitts probably within the next 2 weeks. So it's been a long time coming. And do you hear this? You guys hear that purr? What I've created is a 65-minute CD of Harry the Cat purring for you in hi-fi stereo. As a special bonus, you get the sounds of him eating his lunch, grooming, yawning, and going to bed. It's a day in the life of Harry the Cat, condensed into 65 minutes. And there he goes. He got his attention. He's out of here. So long, little guy. Anyway, so much great music from South Florida. Derek Giles is in the house. Hello, Derek. Mondo says that Paul Stanley ain't got nothing on Harry. That's right. You look at Paul Stanley's chest. Look at Harry's entire body. a toss-up. Real toss-up. I'll drink to that. Another band that was very large on the landscape in South Florida. We mentioned them a minute ago because Mike Lesser was kind enough to send me the double CD anthology, but how about this piece of original vinyl by The Eat? Oh yes, record collectors rejoice, or die of envy, whichever the case may be. We have an original, authentic God Punishes the Eat. I purchased this at Peaches Music. Yes, the infamous Peaches chain store. They had an outlet on 167th Street in North Miami Beach. And I remember reading about the Eat in the local, not even fanzines, but like the local music magazines, such as The Rag. And they were probably in Mouth of the Rat, which was an authentic punk rock zine in South Florida, but very hard to find. I knew of the Eat. They'd have an ad in every issue of The Rag saying that they were available for bookings and that they played smart-ass love songs. And I thought, okay, interesting. So I heard about these guys, and then when I walked into Peaches that fateful day, I saw a bin full of these God Punishes the Eat records. There must have been 100 of them. I was like, whoa, there's that band, The Eat. And right off the bat, the title, God Punishes the Eat, right then and there I knew I had to have this record. Needed it, wanted it, had to have it. It was $2.49, which was definitely more expensive than your average 45. I think your average 45 by then was like $1.29. This is almost twice as expensive as a regular 45. But I mean, God Punishes the Eat, you know, and then I looked at the back, and, you know, this stark black and white collage, song titles, Silly Drug Songs. If I hadn't been sold before, I was really sold then. Kneecapping, Jimmy Be Good, Nut Cop, Dr. TV. Whatever was going on here, I knew I wanted to be a part of it. The record label, Giggling Hitler Records. I mean, there's a real dark sense of humor at play here. Oh, and by the way, I was wrong. The original Peaches price tag is still in the record. Don't know if you guys can read it, but this record was not $249. It was actually even more expensive. It was $275. I don't know if you can see that. But yes, this record cost $275 at a time when your average 45 RPM single was maybe $1.49. You know, it was still, this was way more expensive than your average 45 RPM single. If you wanted to buy Lawyers in Love by Jackson Browne with a picture sleeve, no way it cost $275. So I was definitely taken aback by the expensiveness of it, but I had to have it. And I was really kind of unpleasantly surprised because I wouldn't say this record qualifies as lo-fi necessarily, but it ain't exactly hi-fi. It's kind of like mi-fi, mid-fidelity. But once I got past the rather raw sound of it, I was hooked. To this day, Nut Cop is one of my favorite songs by anybody from any time of any genre. Awesome. Fantastic song. They're all good. Jimmy Be Good is great. Kneecapping, fantastic. It even came with this bonus questionnaire and lyric sheets. Not questionnaire, but like a fine, fun fact sheet about the Eat, which every member is asked about, their birth date, their birthplace, favorite color, favorite planet, favorite type of ice, favorite inert gas. I mean, it's just favorite cloud formation on Mars, number of years in showbiz. I mean, the sense of humor was so dry, so dry. I just fell in love with these guys, and I never got to see them live because if I was intimidated by the bands that were like 1 or 2 years older than me, these guys were like 4 or 5 years older than me. They were definitely way up there in the age scale. And whenever they were playing around, I was too young to see them. So I never got to experience the Eat live. But I do have, to this day, my cherished copy of God Punishes the Eat, which I'm not selling. But I will mention, I do have a spare copy. I do have a second copy of God Punishes the Eat. So if you guys are serious punk rock record collectors, if you're into trying to fill a particular gap in your Killed by Death collection, talk to me about my spare copy of God Punishes the Eat. I'm willing to part with it. I only need one. I don't need two. I just need one. So hit me up. Fair warning, which you might already know, it's not cheap. It's a rare one. It's a real rare one. A real feather in the cap of anybody who collects vintage American punk and hardcore. God Punishes the Eat. I got one. If you're equal to the task. The other old-time guy. I've talked about this guy on Tent Talk Scene so many times, but you know, quite possibly the kingpin of the South Florida punk rock scene, and he wasn't even punk rock. Charlie Pickett, along with Charlie Pickett and the Eggs. These guys were essentially a bar band. Essentially a covers band. But the way that they played their covers and their bar band music was with so much swagger and so much attitude that they were punk rock. You know, the music was anything but orthodox punk rock. But they just, to coin a phrase, dripped snot. And they were good enough to back it up. On a good night, Charlie Pickett and the Eggs could smoke any and all competition. And when I say bar band music, I don't mean like Huey Lewis and the News or Bob Seger or, you know, any jive-ass turkey like that. I mean bands who were meant to be listened to in bars. I'm talking about the Flamin' Groovies. I'm talking about the Velvet Underground. I'm talking about classic and obscure blues. The real stuff, the dirty, low-down, raunchy stuff. That's the way that these guys approached it. And for a very young, wet-behind-the-ears whippersnapper like myself, it was quite refreshing. And I will never forget, tuning in to Radio Free Living Room, the 100% essential and seminal South Florida radio show, Monday nights at midnight on WLRN. I'd stay up late, didn't matter if it was a school day or a work day, I would stay up and listen, and stay awake as long as I possibly could, with my finger pressed on the record button on my Jambox cassette recorder, just waiting for the songs that were going to blow me away so I could get a tape of them. I will never forget hearing Charlie Pickett's version of Slow Death by the Flamin' Groovies one night on Radio Free Living Room. That's the one that did it. And I will reiterate, the original Slow Death by the Flamin' Groovies is certainly very good and very nice. But the version by Charlie Pickett and the Eggs is better. Blows it out of the water. I know that's an opinion. I know opinions are subjective. But give it a listen. It's out there. You'll find it on the YouTube. Slow Death by Charlie Pickett and the Eggs. If you got ears, you got to listen. Derek Giles wants to know how I'm digging the North Carolina tap water. I love it. It's taken me a while to get used to the different chemical runoff and pollutants in the North Carolina water as opposed to Connecticut water. You know, because from where I was living for such a long time, Danbury, it was all water that was fortified by the old hat-making industry. Round here in North Carolina, the water is fortified by the old furniture-making industry. So whereas in Connecticut, it was all mercury, cadmium, lead, and scrapings of old beaver pelts. Down here in North Carolina, it's all shellac, formaldehyde, varnishes, and wood shavings. So it makes for a definitely different bouquet, if you will. But it's still wonderful. It's still delightful. And I still drink a gallon of it every day. And it apparently hasn't killed me yet. So that's good. That's real good. Let's squeeze in one more seminal South Florida punk and hardcore record. Kind of like the Charlie Pickett and the Eat. These are all, every one of these are the original records that I bought back in the day. The Morbid Opera still has its $2.50 price tag on it. You know, the Eat's got its $2.75 price tag. Gay Cowboys In Bondage has its original $2.50 price tag. I love this. This is real history, you know? So those are all originals. This is my original, bought on the day it came out, and I've had it ever since. We can't help it if we're from Florida. Kind of the same deal. The title, the cover art, I saw it. I knew I needed it. Absolutely knew I needed it. And this is like the premier roster of Florida hardcore bands. Once again, talking about classic 80s American hardcore. There's a certain Florida strain of it. I mean, look at the bands on this. Hated Youth, Rat Cafeteria, Roach Motel, Sector 4, and Morbid Opera, who are definitely not hardcore per se, but same deal. They had so much attitude, they fit right in there. I mean, God, how many songs in this thing? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 13, 16 songs on a 7-inch record. That, to me, is the essence of hardcore. Short, sharp shocks. Fast and loud. 16 songs. Name me a Journey record that's got 16 songs on it. Name me a Van Halen record that's got 16 songs on it. That's a lot of bang for your buck. 16 songs by 5 different bands on one 45 RPM record. Maybe it's a 33, but you know what I mean. By this time, maybe it cost $3.50. Who knows? It might have still been $2.75. But man, 16 songs, 5 bands for $3 or so. No major label outfit ever gave you that kind of value for money. And as you probably guessed, every single band on here and every single song on here rules. Army Dad by Hated Youth. Hardcore Rules by Hated Youth. Eat the Rich by Morbid Opera. Kill by Rat Cafeteria. My Dog's Into Anarchy by Roach Motel. White House by Sector 4. I mean, those are just the peaks on this fantastic album. I'm pretty sure, and maybe someone out there knows, can correct me or discorrect me. I think this got reissued somewhere down the line. There was a volume 2 that came out in the 90s. I hope this has been reissued because this stuff is so good. People need to hear it. You know, it came with the original lyric sheet. Another hallmark and identifier of original DIY punk and hardcore records. The photocopied lyric sheet. All done by hand. All pasted up. Pen and ink. Typewriter. Glue stick. This is a complete artistic aesthetic that I love to this very, very day. And which I, do my little bit to keep alive with my glue stick collage art that I make from junk mail. Inspirational. Inspiring to me 42 years later. This record came out in 1983. I still love it. I'm probably going to put it on after I sign off and play it real loud. It's the energy. It's the piss and vinegar. The attitude. These are the bands from South Florida that inspired me. I never like to say influenced because there's not a single band or artist ever who I listened to or saw the works of and said, I'm going to do what they're doing. Never did that. But I would hear this music and say, that's got a lot of possibility. That's a direction that I could go in. And it all just sort of got thrown into the melting pot, and the heat turned up to the max and stirred with a plastic spoon until it melted. And what came out is whatever I've been doing since those days, on stage with Anti-Scene now, or Clayton and Winslow, or on my own with my acoustic guitar, or with Ultra Bunny, or Fried Man, or any other musical project I've got going on. I owe it all to the inspiration that I gained from these bands and these artists and the people who published the zines and took the pictures and owned the record stores and did the grunt work in the South Florida scene. We were an oasis of creativity and acceptance in an extremely hostile, stupid environment. It was then, it's still now, but it bred something really special. So my roots are right here, South Florida, early 80s. This is where the seed was planted, and it continues to germinate and grow to this day. So thank you, everybody. Gay Cowboys, Morbid Opera, Roach Motel, Charlie Pickett, The Eat, Sector 4, Rat Cafeteria, so many others. F, The Abusers, The Drills, Larry Joe Miller and the Rockabilly Rockets, The Front. I could go on and on and on, but to me, these are all heroes, and I salute every single one of you. And that's why I'm still here, doing things like Tent Talks Tunes. And I want to thank everybody for hanging out and chilling and listening to me go blah, 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 blah about music I love and records that I collect. As usual, don't forget, the G.G. Allin book is out. It's on eBay. It's on Amazon. You can get it from me. We got Rule Breakers Ball, September 19th and 20th coming up. Very exciting. The Anti-Scene Time Machine is poised and ready for release. Clayton and Wenzel, live, July 19th. I'll be playing the acoustic guitar. Oh, yes. We'll be doing that. My website is finally updated after many years. Got some exciting new content on it. Please check it out. Oh, and John Blyer is saying, yes, We Can't Help It If We're From Florida was reissued as a 10-inch with bonus cuts. Sounds like something I got to put on my want list. So thank you, John, for that. My new mailing address, Discogs, eBay, Bandcamp, TPOS, YouTube, all the stuff. Check it out. Like it. Love it. Live it. As for me, I do hope to be back in about 167 hours. So until we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Tar Heel State.